we understand the idea of managing down, meaning my job is to make you better. We never think about managing up. We want to work for a better leader, make him a better leader. Like, why do you have to go to another leader? That guy's going to have weaknesses too. You just don't see him yet. It's like you didn't see the first one's weaknesses. You're never going to get to a perfect leader. So at the end of the day, you want a better leader? We all do. Make him better.
Mike Arce, back again. How you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing better now. I'm talking to you.
That's right. You're on that worldwide book tour, huh?
I am, man. I'm more excited about it now than I was the day it launched. So yeah. I'm very pumped.
Well, I love it. Obviously, I've read it. I was, honored enough to be able to write a blurb for the forward or the front of the book.
First one to read it.
Look at that. Yeah, dude, I love it. It's so needed, and we're going to get into that, but we can't let you slide. You know how this works. Do you have a dad joke for me?
So most dad jokes are not like set up. Most dad jokes happen when you don't see them coming. And so mine is one. Me and my son, I brought him with me. He was probably like, I don't know, 14, 15 at the time. And I was like, hey, come with dad today. I'm going with the real estate agents to go look at some property. So he's like, all right. So we go in and we look at this commercial space, and I'm checking out what it looks like out the window. And I look out the window and there's a Lifetime Fitness out there. And so I go, son, come here, look at this. And he goes, what? And I put my arm around him and I go, it's the view of a lifetime. And he goes,
yes.
Yeah, that's the one. Those are better. The ones where they don't know it's a joke. They don't know what jokes come here. Like, son, come here. Those are the best jokes.
Dude, I love it. That's probably the best one I've heard. I love it. Right. A real life dad joke. Yep. I've got one that I had to look up. I'm sad to admit it's been a bit busy, so I had to look it up. So how do you get a cell phone drunk?
I have no idea.
Give it screenshots. It's so bad. So bad. Look, man, again, enough craziness. I'm glad you're on. I want to talk to you about a bunch of stuff. So look, you're a super smart guy. If you guys don't know who Mike is, I'm not going to make him rehash his entire history, but total rock star in the industry. He has a company called Loud Rumor, and they coach clubs of all shapes and sizes, mainly in the studio space, but lots of franchise brands. I mean, this guy's got a ton of experience, probably the most creative guy that I know. If he puts on a show or a seminar or something, you definitely want to go. I mean, it's the best in the business. I've always said that. Like, nobody does it like Mike. Super creative, showman all the way, but there's a lot of meat behind what you do as well, which is parlays perfectly into the book that you've written. So everyone can see the cover of the book now. The title is As Standard as You. As I mentioned before, I was fortunate enough to write a blurb for the cover. I'm a believer. I was one of the first ones to read it, I believe.
Me first.
I think it's needed in the industry. I know you've stated this in other areas, but I'd love just for our audience to hear, why did you write this book?
So I've gotten to work with a lot of entrepreneurs in the last, I don't know, since 2009. So 16 years. But it's interesting, like over the last 4 years or so, I've gotten close to a lot of the employees, because a lot of the entrepreneurs that would come to our events, they would bring their staff. And because they would bring the staff, I would start changing some of my teachings, right? To make sure that it was not just valuable to the entrepreneur, but it was valuable to the staff. They're a little bit different, right? So you're teaching them that they have the power to be able to make an impact. A lot of people don't realize how much power they have, especially in a small business like 10, 15, 20 employees or less. And so I started tailoring some of that information. And then little by little, I, would get feedback. And so, my ego goes, hey, people like that. So I'll create a little more stuff like that, because I want people to continue to like it and come back, and I want them to bring their staff. And next thing I know, there were some people that would bring like 10, 15 employees with them to the events. And most recently, we had I guess this is where the spark of the book kicked in. We had an event at First Form, Andy Frisella and Sal Frisella's company, supplement company. And for those of you that don't know, he founded like the 75 Hard thing. I think that's something most people generally have heard of by now.
Right.
And, they talked a lot about standards at First Form, and that they have there, and which was perfect because I had a whole talk just on standards as well. So when I started doing my talk about standards, I really started talking about A, B, and C players, the differences between them, how to manage up. And after that talk, I had personally, and then my team had people as well. In the debrief, we always do a debrief after the event. So we found out like a lot of people had this. We had people come up and that were like, either A, I'm so glad I brought my people to this. For that one talk, it was worth bringing my team. Or I wish I brought my team to this. I should have brought my team to this. Like that talk would have been a reason to bring them. And so I was like, man, people really like us developing their people and unlocking this new room that their people can walk into not knowing existed. And so we do these things in our program called power calls. So we started doing shaping some of the power calls where every Monday, Wednesday, Friday we teach something. But I made about 60% of them because I wanted to test it. Made about 60% of them more to the team. And we had a lot of people start showing up and more people started coming to these calls and we started getting great feedback from it. So I was like, all right, I hear the team's doing better. I hear the gyms that have great people are doing better. So I wrote this book really for the people, and which obviously benefits everyone. The entrepreneur wins by the people reading this book and actually doing the things that we discuss. But more importantly, the employees, like a lot of them just go from job to job. Is the worst retention in history right now. I can't, I don't know what the most recent thing is, but I think it was like 13 months. The average employees with a company for 13 months right now, like under the age of like 30 or something. And that's crazy. Like, I don't know. I'm 43. I remember growing up and people had jobs for 20 years, right?
Right.
It's
Yep.
a normal thing. And I had people on my team that have been with me for 8 years. And so I think instead of chasing a new job for a new opportunity, unlocking new opportunities that you didn't know existed within your own company. And it's like getting a new job every time you want. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Love it. And again, it always comes from experience, right? You're exposed to lots of brands and lots of people. There's a heat signature there. It's needed. I mean, look, as soon as it landed, it's strange that it hasn't happened before. And look, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's so profound just because you're a guest and an amazing Alloy franchisee. But when you said, hey, I've written this book for the employees of businesses, fitness businesses, but businesses. And I was like, oh, like no one's done that, right? And
Yeah.
to speak to the power that they don't realize that they have in those positions because the maybe the perception is that they're not in charge, you know. I think the only other book I've read similar, Mike, was there's a guy named Andy Stanley who is a super preacher out of Atlanta, you know, one of these big churches, but he also does a leadership podcast on business, and he has CEOs from Home Depot and all, just whoever's based out of Atlanta mainly. But a guy that worked underneath him wrote a book, and it was just the title was dead on. It was like how to lead. I think the title was How to Lead When You're Not in Charge, which is basically like you're leading yourself, right? And it goes back to things that I've told a million people in different organizations of ours, which is like, hey, just do a great job with whatever's put in front of you. You're going to get more opportunities. Like it's impossible for you not, because we have a big vision. Your vision can fit within my vision, I promise. That being said, whatever I give you initially, you have to nail it, right? You can't think about 3 steps from now. You just have to do the thing right in front of you really well. You're self-leading in some ways. In some ways, you're leading by, you know, proxy by other people around you watching you. What are some things that, without giving away too much about the book, that you wanted people to hear? I'm an employee of your business, Mike. What did you want me to know when I finished reading your book?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't mind giving away everything in the book, right? To me, that doesn't matter because, like, my vision for it is not that the owner or an employee reads it. My vision, which is happening, which is great, it's the coolest thing. My vision is that people create book clubs and the whole team is reading it and they're discussing chapters together. Because what I've learned is that just from this experience, the texts that I'm getting and the messages that I'm getting and the things that I'm hearing are they would do their huddle, they would do their book club meeting, and they would discuss what they took away from the last chapter. And even though they took away the same thing, they saw different use cases for that thing that it could be done, which opened up the idea. There's a really cool quote, and I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Edison or Franklin, but it was if I give you a dollar, you give me a dollar, we each walk away with a dollar. If I give you an idea, you give me an idea, we each walk away with 1,000 ideas, right? Because we now go, oh, and I can use it for here, and I can do that there. Oh, and you know what? If we did that, so yeah, I'm not worried about giving away stuff. As far as like I think you asked for a takeaway, right? Like
Yeah,
one
like
of
if
the
you, like you wrote the book in your heart, what do you hope people after they read your book, what do you want them to feel or know?
they now see something they can't unsee, and it's about their position as a person on the team and what they're capable of and how much power they actually have over the business, over themselves, over their future, over their money. So that to me is it. Once you read this, then what we're hearing is they can't see this the same anymore. Like their position, their job, their abilities, they can't see it the same anymore. They can only see it in the way that it truly is, which is for the most part pretty limitless.
Yeah, man, I love it. You're right. Do you think this will obviously the goal ultimately is to help those individuals, right? The self-realization of the power that they have, whether they feel like they do or not. But
Mhm.
I look at it like I've always been a business owner, so I can't help but selfishly look at it through the lens of like, wow, if I have a bunch of A players that are thinking like leaders, it's really going to help my business. Are you getting that feedback from other owners?
Of course. Well, it's the same thing as if like I brought a book to a professional basketball team and the coach goes, "Ooh, if they all get more athletic and stronger, more confident, I get more successful as a coach." Yeah, and so do they. Like everyone, no one loses in this, which is
Right.
really, really great. Like everyone's winning. What I think is also really powerful and it's unique and it's a thing that I give that the owners couldn't do without this give is I'm able to say things that they can't say. They're just not in the position to say it. So, for example, I want you to imagine we don't really know each other. And we have to imagine that because you and I have a sense of trust already. I trust you pretty high, and I think you trust me well too. And so there's trust here. But I want you to imagine we don't have that trust, but we started working together. There are a lot of things that I could do to increase trust, right? There's a lot of things I could do to decrease trust. And so if I was an employee for you, Rick, and we work together, I want you to imagine you don't know where you stand with me trust wise. Like it's not bad or good. It's just indifferent, right? And all of a sudden you're working and I come over and I see you and you look like maybe you're kind of working through a problem. You're not sure, stressed looking. And I go over to you and I go, "Hey, Rick, yeah. Hey, you okay?" And you go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm good. Okay. I just wanted to check on you. I know it looked like you were a little stressed here." "Oh, no, no, I'm good. I'm good." "Okay. Hey, man, just so you know too, I want you to know I got your back if ever you're not, man. I think you do a great job. I've worked for a lot of people before and I really respect your leadership style. I enjoy working for you. And so I want you to know you can count on me if there's anything you ever need or if you're kind of in a bind. I want to be there for you. I don't it's not my job, is not something I'll ever say to you. Okay. Yeah, yeah, man, that's amazing. Thank you. You got it, dude. I walk away. How much do you trust me now?
Yeah,
Did your trust go up?
of course.
See, as employees and employers, we want more trust out of the other party, but we just want it. But we're not doing the things that earn it, but we want it, right? I want you to trust me. How can you not trust me with that? So what have we done to increase the trust,
Right.
right? And they're just managing up, right? At the end of the day, Rick, I want you to imagine the same thing. I work for you, and I could be a really great employee, great meeting like, here's my job description, and I do all those things greatly. I can be a really great employee. Doesn't mean I'm an A player yet. It just means I'm a really good employee, right? Now, all of a sudden, you host a meeting. The meeting goes well, so you think, and so you leave the meeting, and then I knock on the door. You go, "Yeah, Mike, come in." "Hey, Rick, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Yeah, yeah. What's going on?" "Hey, listen, just so you know, I love the message. I love everything that you do, and just so you know, I'm with you 100%. Like I'll run through a brick wall for you. I love your vision, and I know your intentions, but I want to let you know something. One thing that you said in that meeting there, I think could have rubbed some people the wrong way. I think it did. I know your intentions, so I'm not taking anything negative to it, but I kind of wanted to talk through it with you in case you didn't see it." "Yeah, what's going on?" And then I tell you, and then you're like, "Man, I didn't see that." Now it gives you a chance to redeem yourself. How do you feel about me?
Yeah.
You probably trust me a lot more, and you probably
Yeah.
I now moved into a different player. I'm not just a guy that does his job description well. I'm like a confidant. I'm somebody that what happens is we always manage, we understand the idea of managing down, meaning my job is to make you better. But we never think about managing up. We want to work for a better leader, make him a better leader. Like, why do you have to go to another leader? That guy's gonna have weaknesses too. You just don't see him yet. It's like you didn't see the first one's weaknesses. You're never gonna get to a perfect leader. So at the end of the day, you want a better leader. We all do. Make him better. Make him better. Like you see that he could have done something better. Hey man, can I talk to you about something I saw and I know your intentions? Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I just think, but we don't even think we can do that.
Right.
And so the cool thing is, and I say this in the book, if the owner gave you this book, knowing that was in there, that's all the permission you need to manage them up.
Man, I love it. It's funny. I think through the lens of employees, I haven't been one, I've only done this. So I've fortunately, and maybe unfortunately, I've never worked for anyone. So, but I think about people on a team and I think that, I'm trying to take play devil's advocate. Like, look, man, not negative, just realistic. I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you and I have this conversation. I'm like, that's not my job, right? Like, it's not my job to motivate, my manager or my owner, right? That's their job. They should already get this. But I think what that person would fail to realize, and what I'm thinking as you're talking, Mike, is like, this is something you do for yourself, right? Like, is it going to help your leader become a better leader, your owner or manager? Yeah, of course. But what's it going to do for you, right? I mean, you are changing your mindset by performing this action, right? You are by default acting like a leader. You're a servant leader in some ways, and so it can change your own ideas of who you are just through the action of doing it, right? And so it could get you out of that this isn't my job mindset, which look, I know that's probably a poor way to communicate that,
Well,
because
here's the thing. I mean,
does that make sense?
yeah, but I think you're right. Yes, and I think there's two different things here. So you can say like that's not a thing that's in my job description. You're right. It's not,
Right.
but it is a responsibility. And a lot of people don't break down that word. Responsibility is the ability to respond. And it's a responsibility. You have the ability to respond. If you saw that leader lead a meeting and he didn't say something right, or it could have rubbed people the wrong way, and you know his intentions, he didn't mean to do it that way, you have the ability to respond to that. You do. So it's a responsibility. A lot of people think responsibility is something you must do. No, it's something you can, it's an ability, something you can do. Right. And so I think we got to really look at, hey, what are the responsibilities that I have here? And there's quite a few, more than most people think. And the reason I say this is some stuff that, an owner can't say, like, by me saying to you, if you're my boss, hey, I just want to let you know, I really think you're a great leader. And I think you're somebody I want to work for a long time. I love learning from you. That would build trust. But as an owner, I can't say to the employee, hey, just so you know, if you want to earn trust from me, tell me how good of a leader I am, and tell me, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't have that position. And it's, even though it's true, right? Like
Right.
my husband and my wife, me and my wife, like if my wife said to me, hey, Mike, listen, tell me you appreciate me. She's in position to do that, right? Because we
Right.
have that relationship. Tell me you appreciate me. Tell me that you notice the things that I'm doing, right? That means something to me. It tells me that we've got a good relationship. I understand that, but it's awkward as an employer-employee. You can't say like, hey, tell me that you would run through a brick wall for me. That would make me trust you. Like, now you're being coerced, right?
That's right.
So this is helping me be like that mediator, like that person in the middle that goes like the whisper to the employee and be like, hey, listen, just go tell him this. Like, do you like him? Do you like working for him? Yeah, go tell him. Tell him there's nothing wrong with that. Do you like his leadership style? Do you believe he's got good intentions? Yeah. Do you love his vision? Yeah, go tell him. Tell him these things. Can he count on you? Yes, go tell him. Right.
Man,
So
I
that's
love
one
it.
to manage
Yeah.
up. Right.
Well, it's a little bit like, and also, even if the owner manager is trying to articulate some ideas around this, it doesn't land as well as it does coming from a third party, right? Sort of like you know this, Mike. You tell your kids something, they're like, whatever, it's like your dad, and they don't do it that way, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
And then the neighbor tells them something, and they're like, Dad, you're never going to believe this. And it's the most profound thing they've ever heard. And of course, you're thinking, I've told you that like a million times, but it's
Yeah.
always nice to have a third party step in, and certainly in a case like this, right, to say like, hey, you have permission to manage up. I remember doing exercises at one point with a business coach that we had, and it was around the 5 dysfunctions of team. And the one that would be demonstrated to be the most difficult was that peer-to-peer feedback, even if it was positive, right? It was just really difficult for people to have any, much less. I mean, this was peer-to-peer, much less managing up, right? But if your book gives people permission, it explains a framework for why it's okay and maybe some examples on how to do it, which it does. I think it's amazing. So
Yeah.
props to you, dude.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And so there's 13 rules I put here to be, well, I start the book by really helping explain, what is an A player, B player, C player. And then after that, obviously once you read it, you're like, okay, either A, I want to be an A player, or B, I think I can be, right? And then I go into the 13 rules. And these are like, I took time to really think through what the rules would really be. And I scratched some away. I added a couple, like it was initially 11, then it went to 15, then I brought it back to 13, but 13 has already landed. And it's not 12. It's not like if you're 12 out of 13, you're an A minus player. No, you are a B player at best, right? But if you want to be an A player, there's 13 rules. And if these things are living in you, then you can call yourself an A player. And if not, you're not. And, your ego might hurt a little bit from it, but you have
Right.
the ability to add any of these 13. None of these 13 are genetic. All of these 13 are decisions.
Interesting. So do you think, okay, based on what you said, I think I know the answer, but if let's say I'm a manager and I'm looking at my team and I'm ranking them based on your 13, sort of rules, if you will. If I'm a C player, can I become an A player?
So there's this cool question that says, you don't ask, is someone smart? You ask, how are they smart?
Hmm.
And so a C player for your company might be an A player somewhere else or doing something
Right.
else.
It's
Like,
like, yeah, if you're judging a fish on how to climb a tree,
yeah, I'm
that
an
they're
A
not going
player.
to rank well.
I believe I'm an A player in what I do, but I might be below a C player on the Los Angeles Lakers, right? So
Right.
good person, bad fit. So you have to find the right fit. So the first question is, why are they a C player? Like, is it a will but can't? Like they just can't. Or is it a won't? Is it a moral thing? Is it a mental thing they can't get over? Like, what is it? So, I think the beginning is like why, but for the general definition of a C player does the bare minimum to keep their job. So that's not my job. They know very well what their job is because they know exactly where the line is and they sit right on that line. A C player won't quit. So if you're hoping they'll quit one day, good luck. They're going to be around for a while because it's more work to find another job than to just do the bare minimum. Sometimes even below it. If they know you have no one on deck and you're not someone that has a bench at all times, oh, they'll probably even do below it. They'll be late, even though you told them not to be late because they know you're not going to do anything.
Right.
It's only 3 minutes, right? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, so a C player is toxic. They are very good at talking about, they know all the things that could be done in the business to be better because they talk about it. They just don't talk about it to the people that are part of the problem or the solution. They talk about it with everyone else. They'll talk about it with members. They'll talk about it with their coworkers that they've kind of like brought into their world. They'll talk about it with their spouse, their family, or anybody else that helps them see that they're in victim world again, right? Like, I would be doing better if. Like, oh, here
Right.
goes another idea. And it's, yeah, that's right. He's got another idea. You're welcome. Because you could have a guy that's got no idea. You want to work for someone with
Right.
no idea,
Exactly. Right.
right? Like, what's the alternative here? So I think a C player is that. Now, a B player to me is defined as somebody that is completely malleable. Like if you get him around C players, he'll be a C player. You wouldn't know. You'd think he's a C player. If you get him around A players, you wouldn't know. You'd think he's an A player. They're just going to bend to the environment. They're very go with the flow. They're incredible workers, but they've got to be around the right things. And then your A players, The biggest reason to get rid of a C player is because they're the fastest like thing that'll get an A player to leave. A
Right.
players can't stand them.
Right.
And a C player will never leave because you hired an A player. They'll just talk shit about the A player. Like,
Right. But they won't leave.
something negative. Yeah, there's got to be some. What can I find on that person? Because I got to find some level of imperfection so that I can justify me not having to be that, right? So you got to get rid of your C's right away, and you can use like there's this thing called the will, won't, can, can't chart, and you want to make sure that they're in the will and in the can, and then you
Right.
just got to. But yeah, I don't think in most cases I personally don't have experience with getting a C to an A. I don't even know if I've gotten any C's to a B.
You know, it's interesting. I always think of the quote from Lou Holtz, the famous coach, famous for coaching everywhere, but mainly Notre Dame. And he's like, you want to have a motivated team? It's easy. Just get rid of the players that aren't motivated. It's
Yeah.
like,
You
and look,
hire
I
more
don't say that flippantly because these are human beings with responsibilities and jobs and whatnot. But to your point, it's a little bit like the net promoter score. And if you guys are familiar with that, it's like a 1 through 10. And you have promoters, which are like 9, 10s. You have people on the fence, which are 7, 8s. Everybody below that's a detractor. And of course, the lower the score, the bigger detractor. You very rarely get someone who's at a 4, a detractor, to a promoter. But you work really hard to get your 7 and 8s to move up. So that would be
Yeah.
your B players in this case. And of course, in the net promoter score, it's typically customers, right? But same idea. You're not going to get your grouchiest customers to be your biggest advocates, but you can get the people that are on the fence. And if you're not careful and your grouchies can pull those malleable 7, 8s or Bs in your case, right? One way or the other. One reason to get rid of them. Plus, to your point, if you're an eagle and you look around and there's a bunch of ducks in the office, you're like, this is not my crowd. And you're going to move on, right? Because you don't want to work around that. So yeah, I get it.
And here's the thing, it's not a lot of people. I just made an episode about this. I don't even know if it launched yet, but I've got a podcast, and
Yeah, it's a good one, by the way. What's the name of it so people can find you?
so interestingly enough, we were going through a brand change. So
Okay.
it's been known as the GST show for a long
Yep.
time, and now it's
Which, by
converting
the
to
way, stands for Get Shit Done. I love it. I've got a bunch of Mike's t-shirts.
uh,
Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. And now it's the Behind Jim Doors podcast. But the rebranding as of the filming of this hasn't happened yet. But it's Behind Jim Doors podcast, and there's a strategic reason for it with this other company that I'm starting that's going to sit above it all. And so I gotta keep things within the brand. But anyway, yeah. So I just made an episode, and the reason I make almost all of my episodes, because I see something within the gyms that I coach, and I realize that it's not unique to them. And it gives me an idea of like, this is an opportunity for me to share a solution or a way of thinking to the world. And so there's this person that, and actually there was two different people that were talking about it. They each had one person on their team that they knew was a C player and they knew that they needed to let go, and they've known it for weeks, one of them months, and they're not letting him go for BS reasons. The reasons they gave me that sounded legitimate if you take them at face value were, well, if they leave, though, I don't really have anybody to back it up, or who's going to do this or who's going to do that. Or, the other one was, yeah, I just don't know. Like he got a little kid and, his wife, they just bought a house. And so they feel bad for him. And so I asked him, I go, hey, can I ask you a question? Yeah. What if you got a resignation letter from him today? And he goes, oh, that would feel really good. And I go, yeah, but what if you got a resignation, you found out he didn't have a plan B? Would you still be okay with it? He goes, yeah, I would be. Okay, so stop. So you're not worried about him. You think what you're doing is you're putting the emphasis on the wrong word. He goes, what do you mean? You're saying, "Ah, I don't want to do this to him. But you really got to say, I don't want to do this to him. You're being selfish. It's not that
Right.
you're worried about his feelings, you're worried about yours.
Hmm.
You want to do this thing, but it doesn't mean that you don't want this thing to happen, because the same end result happened where he quit and he didn't have a backup. You wouldn't be like, what's he going to do? Like, how are we going to, are you going to go
Right.
pay
You'd
his
be
bill?
like, oh, well, that was his choice. Right.
Exactly. So it's not about you don't want this for him. It's that you don't want to be the one that created it. And so that's a selfish thing. But here's the other selfish thing about it. And it's selfish to the other people. You've got this person had a lot of really good people on his team, a lot. Like he's got a good 22 people on his staff, and really good people, but this one person isn't. I go, you're slowing those people down. Like those people are getting slowed down. Their future opportunities are slower because this person's not doing his job. On top of that, I go, and this is a really good thinking tool for everybody that's on right now, that's listening. I said, hey, let me ask you a question. Who's your favorite employee? The one that if they sent you an email quitting today, it would be the most devastating. It would be the one that you'd be so upset about. You said the person's name. And I said, okay, well, fortunately for you, he's not quitting. But are you glad that they joined? Yes. Could you feel like this company would be very different if he wasn't a part of it? Yes. I go, but you didn't know he existed at first. At one point, you didn't know he existed, so it didn't bother you that he wasn't on the team. He goes, right. I go, there's another person out there that should be on your team that would be just as amazing, that also would love working here. I'm sure that person, he's worked here for 8 years. I'm sure they love working here. They think your company changed your life. He goes, yeah. I go, there's someone else's life that should change like that person did because of your company. And because they don't exist in your mind, you're forgetting they're real. And that person doesn't have a spot on your team because that guy's holding it.
Right.
Now, come on. What are
Yeah,
we
dude.
doing?
Abundance versus scarcity mindset too. It's like there's lots of good folks out there, right? And you're fearful that you're not going to find them, and there's friction in the replacement, but it's the right way to do it. It's funny as you were saying that. I was thinking. I was talking to a guy. This was probably a few weeks ago, and he was sort of back and forth on whether he should keep somebody. I'm like, all right, here's three questions for you. And this is the lens that we've always used. I don't know where I heard it. I probably stole it, as most of the things I've heard and used. But he said, all right, if this is a good lens for someone on your team. So if you had an all-star team for your company, would they make the all-star team? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. Would you, if he came in your office today and said, I'm leaving, I'm turning in my resignation, would you fight to keep him? He's like, no, probably not. Okay. Well, number three, would you rehire that person knowing what you know now for the same position at the same pay? He's like, absolutely not. I'm like, all right, what are we
Great
doing?
question.
Come on, right? It's like he wouldn't make your all-star team. It's like you wouldn't rehire him to do the thing, and you wouldn't even fight to keep him. So what are we doing? He's like, yeah, you're right, you're right. But it's tough, and I understand that. It's a unpleasant thing to do. It's a hard thing to do as a leader, but it's really the kindest thing to do, not only for the other people on your team and your company, which is a living, breathing entity, but it's also kind for the other person. There's lessons in that. They can go and learn to I don't know, geez, man, there's so many upsides that sound so silly coming from someone who
Well, it's
isn't
the
going to
same
get
thing going
fired,
back to
right?
like, how are you smart, right? Like that person clearly isn't supposed to be a Laker,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so, but if I would imagine if I did somehow land a spot in the Lakers, and every Laker was like, dude, like, why is he here? And the
Right.
coach was like,
Just
guys,
throwing up bricks.
the coach is like, just work with him, guys, just work with him. It's like, dude, like somebody else could have that spot. We could only have 13 players. Somebody could have that spot. It's like, just work with them, just work with them. Meanwhile, I make no money in the NBA because no one's paying. I'm getting the bare minimum. And then all of a sudden they fire me. And I start this thing that I'm doing today. And I make more money than most NBA players when you not maybe not the LeBrons, but I make more. Like if you
Sure.
look at what most NBA players, I do better than them.
Right.
But that wouldn't have happened if I was kept on as the guy that's everyone's like, why is he even on the team? I'm getting
Right.
negativity in the locker rooms because the coach wanted to be a good guy. He saw something in me, and he took it as a reflection of his leadership to not be able to develop me. And it's like it has nothing to do with it. Like that's not you're not accountable for that person stepping up and doing A player things. Your job is
Right.
to give him an opportunity, which you did. And at
Right.
this point, if he's not able to live up to it, that's okay. So he doesn't have to, but you have a decision now and you can
Right.
make it. The thing too is there's a psychological thing that we all suck at, and it's called loss aversion. And so we're afraid to lose something, and therefore we don't go for the bigger gain because we are afraid to lose something that we've got, even though the missed gain was bigger than what we would have lost. So, for example, if you take an employee and you go something outrageous, say, "Hey, look, right now we've been getting 15 new clients a month. If you get 30 new clients next month, I'll give you a $5,000 bonus." That's a lot of money, right? Like, let's say you said that as an example, crazy example. Well, the employee may or may not be moved by that, right? May or may not be
Right.
moved by that. And if they missed it, let's say they still just got 15 or 16, like they likely would. They're like, they give it 5,000 lost didn't hurt them. But what if you said, hey, listen, we got to get 50, we got to get 30 next month. If we don't, it's a $500 pay cut. 10 times less loss. They're like, what? They think you're wild. They think you're crazy. They think you're an asshole. They're going to go home and talk to their wife about it. They're going to talk with each other about how nuts you are. And if they missed it, that would hurt them more than missing the five that was just 10 times bigger because they never had it. People are way more focused on losing what they've got versus losing what they don't. And so that's why they're not thinking of that awesome employee that they're losing. They're thinking about this mediocre one that's like at least doing the 5 a.m. class. And it's like, that's not.
That's a perfect example, man. It really is. Well, look, man, I won't keep you forever. The book's amazing. You can find it on Amazon. I think it's already at the top of the charts in its category, as it should be. Look, I'm proud to have you in the brand. I've said this a million times. Mike's going to be keynoting the owners group for our conference this year. So super honored to have him there. He'll talk about more concepts like this. I think we've talked about it. The crux move in our franchise and probably most businesses is your ability to attract, hire, and lead good people. This is a really good framework to do so. And this is something that speaks directly to your folks. So I know that we'll be buying a huge lot of Mike's books and passing them out. We might buy one for everyone at conference. Again, since it's so relevant to employees, we'll probably just buy, as many as we need and just hand them out like candy because I want everyone to read it. I think it's super helpful. So listen, man, appreciate you as always. Where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Just go to Mike Arce Live. I'm actually, oddly enough, pretty active there. So that's my main spot.
Yeah, love it. Mike puts out great content, by the way, and frequent. So check him out. Mike, appreciate you, buddy. Can't wait to see you soon and proud to have you in the brand, as always.
Excited, brother. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.